How are we all doing this glorious Sunday evening? I'm going to try getting back onto our schedule for every Sunday. It's been really busy. I have a lot of stuff going on, and I'm really excited to be able to debut. I mean, we've done a couple of lives, but debut my latest project, my first product going out to you guys. And we have a bunch of stuff that are actually kind of on the website, things that are going to be going on the website very soon, things I'm working on, including, I can turn the camera around if I'm back to using my phone. It's a lot easier instead of fighting with everything. So we turn that around, you can actually see the thing I'm working on. That's this right here. I'm making a front-facing intake manifold. Here's the parts and pieces to get it all together to see if it will work. And yeah, that's a 4200 Vortec or Atlas 4200 or L88, the Barra, all that fun stuff, whatever you want to call it. I have a couple ideas what I want to stuff it in. Obviously, that's going to come in after we get our 8.1 liter Vortec into our square body, which is finally better weather. But let's circle back to that, if you will. Let's first say, welcome back, everyone. I hope you've been well, and I hope you've been putting the nose to the grindstone and coming up with some pretty cool ideas. I know I have, and I'm really excited with what 2025 is going to bring us. Let's see. Again, hello, Captain Dew. Oh, I wasn't saying you were fighting with it. I was fighting with it. I was trying to get it to do the whole pinning the website where you can. It's LunarOutlaw.com. It's my own website. There's no middleman. We make the product. We ship it to you. I spent way too much time shipping it, but it's worth it. It's really cool. What's up, Brian? What's up, Thomas? How are you all doing? So let's go ahead and first and foremost kind of bring you up to speed with what we've been working on, and then I'll introduce you to the Carb Buddy in just a moment. I don't know how well you can hear what's going on here, but it's quite loud down here. We have the furnace isn't on right now, but we have 3 really high-tech 3D printers, or rapid prototypers, if you will. Also, additive manufacturing machines, whatever you want to call them. I want to expand and get to bigger equipment. These are really nice. This is the Bamboo Carbon, and these are the Bamboo P1Ss. One has a AMS, automatic material, I don't know, whatever it means. That thing. And right now we're actually making Christmas ornaments, V8 Christmas ornaments. And we have other cool things. If you go on the website and you're trying to buy some really cool stuff, we also have business card holders that are V8s. These are, of course, LS engines. Those are 1U ZFEs. We'll be introducing other ones that come in different colors. But that's not what you're here for. We're here for really something really cool, something I'm really excited about. Some of our friends on YouTube have actually received their first batches of them. I've sent them to people. They'll be showing them off very soon. I am freaking ecstatic about. I don't even know what made me think of this thing. One day I just thought, hey, I'm tired of dropping stuff down my cylinder, or into the cylinders through the manifold, and why don't I stop putting dirty rags on it? And so, for you guys that are joining us real early on into this particular video, we have 40 of these particular ones that come in different colors. The total color options for our Carb Buddies currently is gray, black, blue, red, and orange. I think I got them all. There's 2 different variations. We have, here's the different color options. Boop. Just there, like that. And the 2 different variations. So, I don't know what made me think of it, but I think it's really cool. We have this guy right here. This is the Carb Buddy that goes directly on your intake manifold. And if you want to see what that looks like, we can go over here real quick. Boop. So this, you can, am I super zoomed in now? Oh, there we go. This right here, you can use the original gasket that you would normally use. I actually found that they work better than the O-rings that originally, so the O-ring remnants is still there, but my goal is to make it so you just slide this on any of the standard Holley style intake manifolds. Of course, this is the Buick 350 high rise, not high rise, SP3. And so that sits right there. and you can put all your screws, bolts, and stuff like that, and you don't have to worry about them falling down. You can bolt it in there. If you put your gasket underneath this thing, you can pressure wash the engine. And then we have this over here is what I'm calling the hat, the Carb Buddy hat. It sits right onto your any carburetor. You have a Edelbrock, you have the Holly. It fits on top of the Thermoquad, the Quadrojet, as well as this is a vintage Holly. It fits right on there, no problem. And we'll go back to it later. But yeah, so Santa's Workshop, how you doing? I'm really, really excited. I've been working on this for a while, like up until like 1 o'clock in the morning. I went through, I don't want to sell you guys a product that I personally wouldn't use and that I pick you guys up against. I'm really excited if you can't tell. And I'm not going to just put it together and make, send you something that's not going to fulfill what I promise you. I've gone through maybe 20 prototypes, which it sounds crazy. It's a simple concept, but there was a lot of issues that arose while trying to produce these. One, the very first material I was planning on using was this guy right here. It held up fairly well. This is PLA. The problem with PLA is I haven't experienced it per se with this, but it's not UV protected or resistant, I should say. And this thing right here will not, what was I gonna say? Oh, any type of heat. So you leave this in the sun, like you're sitting there at a racetrack and you have one of these things and it's made out of PLA and it's on your engine, it's gonna warp. So I nixed this idea, didn't like that, garbage. So then I went to this stuff right here, this is PETG. And so if you can tell, they had a little bit of destructive testing. So I took the largest breaker bar I have and I beat the living tar out of this. I mean, I threw it on the ground as hard as I could. I'm not gonna say I enjoyed breaking stuff. I enjoyed breaking stuff. So the PLA was just to get the dimensions correct. The first time the holes were a little bit too tight. It kind of fought you, it was correct, but it kind of fought you going down. Like, nah, that would frustrate me. So then I went to this. This is PETG. And the first few of these, I had a really hard time. I hit this once with my breaker bar and that thing just disintegrated. Now, what ended up happening with it was I didn't put enough material into it. I didn't have enough material wall thickness. And I also made it with a too low of a temperature, making it very brittle. And ultimately, about 5 attempts later, I finally got one that would not just shatter on impact. And they hold up really, really well now. In fact, the last one that held up from being hit several times, slightly aggressively, with the breaker bar, my son actually has as a toy now, and he drops it all the time. It's almost took it's taken a couple flights down the stairs. So I'm very, very, very happy with the kind of condition or quality that these things are. This is a production one. This one is an orange. It is the Carb Buddy, and it is available on the pinned spot, LunarOutlaw.com. Really excited about it. You put your stuff in there, stop dropping stuff down your cylinder wall or into your manifold. And then there's this guy, same thing, same material. And my goal on it was you'd be able to sit there at a drag strip and it's not going to get all warpy from the sun. But anyways, how have you guys been? Two Hacks says, pretty neat. I'm pretty excited about it. Captain Do says, need more rainbow colors for those option scents. So funny enough, they were originally going to just be black or gray. I sent it out to the people that I sent them out to 5 content creators. They'll be representing the brand, and I'm really excited about it. They're really good friends. And I asked them, what color options do you think? Santa's Workshop said he got one. He did. And the picture you see on the website is Santa Workshops. It's on it's on his El Camino, and that engine is so badass. So yeah, I think it's just freaking baller. So at the end of the day, I need to drink some water. I need to keep the humidity really low in here now. The humidity is, I like 10% in my basement. I have dehumidifiers going because if it gets too humid, the PETG, like, not a good time. So, which, I mean, I already kept it pretty dehumidified for all the engines, so it kind of works out. But so yeah, it was originally going to be just two color, or one of two colors, gray or black. And everyone was like, "Oh, I want this or that." I'm like, "Okay, so I'll offer black." And then I'm like, "Well, I know sometimes it's nice to match things, so I was like, why not Chevy red, Mopar orange, and Ford blue?" And then when I was talking to, there's two people that played a major role in the design of these guys right here, three actually. But Santa's Workshop, I was talking back and forth with him. If you haven't already checked out his YouTube channel, head over there, hit that subscribe button. Highly recommend it. Great dude. So I was talking back and forth with him on it, and it influenced the design quite a bit. And then, so we had Randy over at Auto Auction Rebuilds. I was talking to him about it. And again, if you haven't already checked out his channel, highly recommend it. And, you had my buddy, Junior Nebitson. We, just talking to people and trying to get input on how it would best work for everybody else. And I had some ideas with it in the very beginning stages of it, like putting the magnet in it. And the goal was to make it like a Swiss Army knife. And I kind of scaled it back to just being really, this is what it is. It does a job. The Swiss Army knife's great, except for it sucks at every job that it does instead of just being good at one thing. So that's the premise of it. I do have a thermal quad that I am going to use on 318 swap. Yeah, I really like. I know a lot of people like it's the thermal bog. Well, I really like the thermal quad. If it's in good shape, that's the key. There's no cracks. There's no separations of the inner components, which they like to do. There's stuff internally that likes to separate and come apart. If these things are in really good shape, they're good economical, whatever, carburetor. That being said, are they the most performance-driven carburetor in the world? Absolutely not. This one's a big boy. This is 850 CFMs. This is a gnarly guy. But they're good. I like them. The Quadro Jet's a really good carburetor. I really like it. And if you want to see something neat, so this one right here, I think it's this one. It is. This is a vintage Holly that was actually on the Buick that I bought down in Texas and drove home. And you want to see something neat? There you go. This is a spread bore Holly. How often do you see a spread bore Holly? Like, I don't know how many of spread bore Hollies I've seen in my life. So yeah. So Santa, he chose red for his standard card buddy, and wait until you see what he got for that one. A good place for putting a holding tray. Yeah, so I mean, think about it. When the big issue that I've had and I wanted to solve was every time you do an engine swap, right? You have your lift plate on it, which is all right, but it's got holes in it. It likes to fall inside through there. So you take it off and then you stuff it with a rag. And then all you do is the rag gets real dirty, and then as you pull it out, stuff falls down because oh, I forgot that one bolt. Whether you're putting it on your carburetor, you're putting on your intake manifold, having a nice little bowl right center of where you're working. No more putting crap on your cowl, which then you forget. It gets, God forbid, it's up a little bit further and you close the hood and you break your windshield. That sucks. Don't ask me how I know that. Thomas says, trying to stay in as much trouble as... Listen, trouble's more fun than not. So, yeah, stay just enough trouble not to go to jail, Captain Dude, did I tell you about my new project? Still getting parts and run hull scrap iron rat truck. Leaving the patina. I love patina. Just drive it. Don't let perfection be the evil of good or whatever it is. Brown body color to blue. Changing the brown body color to blue. Two Stall Garage, how you doing? Needing a distributor hole plug. I'm working on a bunch of other stuff. I have 46 products that I want to kind of roll out over the next year or so. So not only do we have, let me scoot over here for a second. So here's some of the prototype stuff I'm working on. I'm already using the card buddies to hold stuff as it is. These are not prototype, these are available on LunarOutlaw.com. They are business card holders, so LS swap your desk today. So eventually I would like to come up with other things, but for now, it's a nice little V8 card holder. I want to eventually come out with a 440 big block and a few other things. I really like them. This is called, it's not Supernova, it's Galaxy something or another. It's like iridescent. It's super cool. And this one is red. We have them red, blue, black. What else? Available colors on the website. And then I'm working on these guys right here. These are 1UZ FEs. These are the engines that are in my Supra. This is a desk little thing, so for people that like the 1UZ. This one's a Christmas tree ornament. So I don't want to get into too many gimmicky things, but if I design something for myself, might as well make them for you guys as well. The other things I'm working on, and some of the things will be for LS engines. I'm working on storage block-off plates for Cosmic. Yes, you're correct, Cosmic. Storage block-off plates for exhaust ports, things. I don't have an exhaust port for the LS. I have them made up for the 440 big block, and I have them made up for the LS. I'm trying different design configurations that are inspired by other people, but I'm modifying because I don't like how they work. So import block-off plates for the LS. These guys right here are nice. This is so you can delete your fuel, the purge, and this is your EGR for LS. This is nice. It's a not my design, actually. I'm trying to integrate this into everything. So this just holds push rods, and then I want to be able to hold your push rods, your lifters, springs, rockers, your retainers, everything. So those are not available yet. My goal is to make sure that before I put it up on the internet, it is 100%, and I'm very happy with it. Ultimately, this is, I'm separating from going over and working with other companies at this point. I'm focusing solely on Lunar Outlaw's garage, my company as a whole, Kilowatt Studios, and what will be Van Zandt Industries for all the car parts. So, yeah, that was a lot. Let's see. The thermoquad I have is an 800 CFM, came from California on eBay off of a 1977 Dodge with a 400 CI, oh, where'd it go? Autotrans. That one I have here actually came off of a work truck. It was a 440 big block, and it's nice. The rat truck is also a 318 with, so a 318 is a great engine. It's a great economic engine. It's an economical engine. It's also very hard to kill. We've learned that. Like, even if you take junk, knowingly take junk and put junk together, somehow it holds together. I don't know how. Even if it's junk, it will run. 318s are impressive. Santa's Workshop says, I'll be your Oklahoma outlet. So we have an Oklahoma, we have Santa, and we have Randy, and then in Arkansas, we have another guy. We have one in Tennessee, and one in, and I don't want to say their names yet, just in case, but they're cool. They're all good people. I would not send this to someone I didn't trust. And as far as that I mean by that is, like, if I don't like someone, I'm not going to send them stuff, I guess. they're friends, you know, you hook a friend up. But yes, this is the V8. That's what was that a question mark? For V8 Supra. That's this. This is a 1UZ FE. This is what's inside the Supra. It's a 4-liter dual overhead cam. I'm running 17 pounds of boost at 7,500 RPMs, roughly. So yeah, really good friends got their hands on it first. The first order actually went out to Texas last week. So shortly after I started making them, and they went from being in my brain through the production process and into the world, they are already going out, and I'm very surprised. I've only had one black one sold, and I am struggling to keep blue in inventory. Orange is popular, red is very popular, so it's between. Gray I just launched, so there hasn't been any orders on the gray quite yet. But let's see, I sent a message request on Insta from my V8 Supra account. I'll have to take a look at that. I don't go on Instagram as much as I really should. For being on social media, I'm not really a social media guy, if that makes sense. So I did this to keep myself working on cars, and what a ride it has taken me on. But so yeah, I will try to remember to look at that when I get off of this. And but yeah, so these just kind of came out of my brain, and after a very large investment, they're now real. Thank you, Thomas. Yes, don't forget to hit that like button. Since 3D printing, hobbyists are now making little model engines for those model cars. So here's the thing, right? So when I was in college, and so I went to school for science in engineering, all right? I got a degree in science in engineering. I am not an engineer. I have a degree in science in engineering. I'm a scientist, I guess. I'm insane. That's what I am. So anyways, when I was in college, what was considered rapid prototyping. It wasn't called 3D printing back then. It was called rapid prototyping. It's been around since the 80s. The machines were very huge, very expensive. And I remember when I was graduating, they came out with some that were literally like plywood, like maybe not plywood, but like particle board. And you had to assemble yours. They were for masochists. They weren't even for hobbyists. They were for people that just didn't like themselves and wanted to hurt themselves. That was it. I don't know why anyone did 3D printing back when I was in college, which would have been back in 2000, graduated in 2010. So it's been a while. It's longer than I would like to admit. God, time is flying. Anyways, they were jokes. In fact, I would not have been able to make a quality product like this in a reasonable budget. Like there's been makers, not makers, what is it? It's they make carbon fiber ones. They'll do continuous carbon fiber thread too. But 2 years ago, this kind of production would have been really difficult. And yeah, I'm a young pup, man. It's been, I don't even want to think about it. Oh my God. Does that mean you're just old? I'm not a young pup anymore, bud. That's scary, man. But I mean, Santa Claus has been around for thousands of years. When did St. Nicholas? 1600s? I don't know. Disregard that. So yeah, the 3D printing quality up until this point has just not been available. So the things you can do now is insane. For example, this is pretty straightforward at this point. It just goes onto your engine, good to go. This is a little bit more complicated because I fought myself on how I wanted to go ahead and make this. And at the end of the day, I wanted to make sure that I had a product that you could just use right out of the box. And there are some caveats, right? So you have a 1/4-inch threaded rod in your carburetor. You don't see a hole in this. I originally was going to design it with a hole. Then I thought to myself, I personally know, this would be me. I put this on my engine with the hole in it. You know what I'm going to do? Now, The responsible me would be like, okay, it's on there. Let me put the wing nut on there, get it nice and tight, snug, seal up that hole, nothing will fall down in it. I wouldn't do that at all. And then things would fall down in there, dust, debris, water, whatever. So I printed it with a solid hole, a solid spot. It's got a little boss. You can kind of see it right there. So that center one it's a divot in to be able to set your drill bit, drill it out. While this prints, this whole section right here is completely solid. This has infill in it. It has 5 layers on the top to make it nice and strong. And if you look at it, it's almost like a bullseye. There's 2 circles. The inside circle is where you're meant to drill. The outside circle is the extended section of the G-code that creates a complete solid material. So as long as you keep your drill bit dead center of that, you're fine. If you go beyond that outside ring, you are into the infill and you're likely to damage the part. You have a little bit of wiggle there, but still, that's why kind of like be careful. It's a little target. If you're good at shooting, it's like a bullseye. Whether you're shooting darts or you're out in the shooting range, aim for the bullseye. But other than that, the big thing is this has taken up a lot of time setting up. Like I have, like I said, 40 of the regular carb buddies available and 7 of the hats available. That being said, I am producing, right now I'm producing ornaments for next year. I'm kind of, while I have a few minutes, I'm trying to build inventory for other stuff so that I don't want to be print on demand. I want things to be available when you order it. That's not going to work all the time, but I can make 18 carb buddies in one day. 20 if it's the hats. Let's see. Oh, you guys are talking about when you guys graduated. 82, 85. I'm 36 since the 5th grade. Fifth. What's that? Something wrong. Unity Motorsports. If you guys haven't checked out his YouTube channel, head over there. That guy is, like, there are some really good engine builders, and they're very good at describing how things go together. And I love fiddling with engines. I've always loved fiddling with engines. I have no idea how many engines I've built. I know I have a lot of fun with them. It's the heart, you know. To me, it's the most exciting part of a project. Not like the transmission. I hate the transmission. Irregardless, Unity Motorsports, Just Mopar Joe. You have Nick's Garage. You have these guys. They do a phenomenal job where they really heavily focus on engine stuff. And listen, Unity Motorsports, we got blue ones. Ford blue. I'm not saying that I want to buy a Ford and put a Atlas 4200 into it, because all good Fords have a Chevy in it. But I would like to do that. The 2 engines I really want to focus on. I'm going to hopefully paint the Supra this year, and then that project is, you know, kind of like boop, boop, boop here and there. But I want to do twin turbo on the LQ4 that's sitting over there and put that in the Buick. And I want to get a turbo in a front-facing intake manifold on that 4200. Let's see. Captain Do says, going to take a lot of material orders to make those pieces. I have gone through so including tons. Like, here are 2 perfect examples, right? This right here, it looks like this right here, right? The same thing. I was really excited. I'm like, I nailed it. I nailed it. This is perfect. I'm ready to sell these. But I'm like, you know what I need to do? I need to make sure that this fits on all the carburetors that I have. I have a ton of different brands of carburetors. And sure enough, this barely misses being too short to fit on a thermoquad. And then I put it on vintage Holley, and it's too tall. This is too short, the Holley's too tall. And if you can tell, it just needed that little extra bump. So all the ones that I made of this, I made several of these, I gave them to friends that have, like, if it fits on an Edelbrock, it fits on modern Holleys. But I wouldn't sell them to you guys because at the end of the day, I can't guarantee it would fit. Where this one right here, it's a little snug on the thermoquad. No, the Quadrojet. It's a little snug on the the Quadrojet. It fits it. But if I make it any more wide in the bottom of this, what ends up happening is it's way too loose on every other carburetor. So it's a little snug on the Quadrojet, but everything else it fits perfectly. And with most of the carburetors, it actually indexes with the word Carb Buddy facing the front of the car. Countless hours of designing this thing. So you never noticed, just said thanks for the kind words. You do great your work yourself. Blue, Ford Blue for the win. I am by no means a smart man. I'm insane, right? I've learned how to do things by learning how not to do things. It's just like iterative designing. I learned how to not make a Carb Buddy like 20 times. But once I got one that I'm really happy with, they're nice and sturdy, can't break them. I don't expect you guys to hit them with a hammer, but things fall, things break. And I'd rather make it more expensive for me to manufacture it than have to worry about the end user having an issue. You know, I'm not Alibaba. I am, you know, a knucklehead in my basement. Happy belated. Best quote ever. What did I say? Because if I said something smart, I would like to know so I can save it in my mind, because I've never had anyone tell me best quote before. But yeah, each one of the boxes is actually just so I don't lose my mind. I already have them shipped or packaged and ready to go. So you open the box, you look inside, and there's a red one, right? And so there's a red dot on there, made in America. So now that the weather's getting better, let's go pivot to something else. Now that the weather's getting better, I've actually gotten the Buick ready to drive again. I'm really excited about that. I need to kind of do a little bit of unwinterizing of it, but for the most part, it was just the battery was dead. It's an LS. Put gas to it, it's going to run. Then the other big thing is I've been waiting for nicer weather. One, because I'm getting too old to be out in like negative 20 degrees with the wind chill and everything to be working on the square body. I did put a carport up, but that doesn't help me from the cold. It more just keeps me from rain. Also allows me to put lights on above me so I can work continuing through the night. So I like that. Just a knucklehead in my basement. Best quote ever. There you go. Yeah, Santa Workshop. Love that Buick. And yes, I've learned how to do things by learning what not to do. That's the best way I learn for the most part. Sometimes it doesn't take. I have to do it a couple times. But anyways, so the weather's getting nicer. The other big issue is the next step on the square bodies. I need to take the entire front suspension off. And it means new struts, or new shocks rather, new shocks, new springs, new upper and lower control arms, new everything. And unfortunately, that means as things are starting to cool down or warm up, things will start to shift, and I don't want it falling off of jack stands. The other big issue, of course, is once I'm done taking everything off, I need to, that's fuel lines. Everything needs to be stripped out of that vehicle. We have, I don't know if I have it kicking around here, but is this a fuel pump? Yes. We have brand new fuel. No, that is, oh, no, okay. That is a coil for the 440. I should probably put that with the 440. So yeah, we have 2 fuel tanks, 2 fuel pumps, a Pollock valve, that's a newer Pollock valve that can handle 60 PSI, AN lines, that's gonna come up. There's no return because we're gonna use a Corvette, 2 Corvette fuel filters, so when the fuel comes up to the filters, it goes to 58 psi, and then whatever's residual goes right back to the tanks. So there's just going to be two fuel tanks, 2 lines coming off, 1 line returned from the fuel filters each, and then from the fuel filters, it goes to the Pollock valve. From the Pollock valve, it will be converted to 1, and that will run up to the front. There's a switcher that will go into the cabin, and we can flip between the 2 different fuel tanks, and that will deliver the required fuel, single line, no return on the engine. So the return has been capped off. Now, from there, so that's where we're at. We need to run all new fuel lines. We need to needle scale everything and put paint on it. Now with the Buick, I painted it at 40 degrees with very low humidity, and needle scaled it, painted it with Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer. Not sponsored. Actually, Terry McGean over at Hemmings told me about it. I gave it a shot. Very happy with how it turned out. It was, you have to clean the surface really, really well. You spray it on there, you wait the 48 hours, and then you put, scuff it, and then you put roll cage paint on it. The truck did the same thing. I didn't wait 48 hours, I waited for it to flash dry. It still worked great. I'm very pleased with how that turned out. So once I have the new paint on it, I'll then be able to put all new upper lower control arms, new springs, everything. New rotors, calipers, putting the old tires back on. Once that's on, we can then put the engine in place. Once the engine is in place, we have some 3D modeling for fuel line clips and just wire management, everyday life stuff. From there, we then put the whole new front back together. The goal is to be able to use it this year, and then at some point, we put new doors on it, paint the doors, put the new doors on it, and eventually we need to do rockers, and then the whole truck needs to be painted from front to back, all over again. Because if I just paint it in different stages and leave it there, it'll all look different. But once it's all together, because this thing is an elephant, and how you eat an elephant is one bite at a time. This thing is an absolute monster. And from there, we'll be able to, continue moving on with throwing the new, like I said, new rockers in it. We have a new dashboard. There's a Dakota digital dash. We're going to go through this, not like how I did it for the Buick. It is going to be every day. Every time I make headway on the vehicle, there will be a video for it. The goal will be probably with the manufacturing of the Car Buddy stuff, we might be reducing it down to every other week instead of every week, but we're going to try to be very consistent. The past several weeks, it has been getting the 3D printers set up, which they weren't too bad. I had to upgrade to a 0.6 millimeter nozzle from the 0.4 because they don't make, the 0.4 doesn't make a very strong end result. This is the end result of a 0.4, whereas you can beat the end result of these guys right here. They're solid. 0.6 is a lot stronger. Captain Dew said, anyways, I put a new shifter knob on the Rat truck. It's a skull head custom shifter for match the style of my style. That's cool. I'm not personally into skull stuff, but being able to personalize your own vehicle, that's why we do it. We don't do this because, some people do it because we want to impress others. But at the end of the day, the root of muscle cars and the root of hot rodding, messing with your JDM, the root of your car is freedom. That's why this whole self-driving vehicles nonsense, you're not, it's a gimmick. First off, it's terrifying that a vehicle is going to be making decisions that could end up killing people. That being said, it's also terrifying that there are certain people on the roads and probably shouldn't have a license. But self-driving cars, electric cars, it's all fad in my book. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't think so. I think we're going to see, like Toyota's going back to just regular vehicles. They're going to have some EVs in their lineup. They're going to be more heavily focusing back to their hybrid technologies and going to be using a combination of combustion hydrogen and combustion petrol. And if you want to know where the automotive industry is going, look no further than Toyota. You know, fortunately, we're seeing a rollback on the nonsense of all cars have to be EV by 2035. That's insane. And we're gonna, long live petrol. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. You know, Toyota said it best. If the United States and Japan, which are some of the wealthiest countries in the entire world, can't get their stuff, working consistently for electric cars, then it's impossible to think that the rest of the world is going to be adopting it. And let's face it, South Africa is not going to be an EV car country. Gasoline's not going anywhere. And Toyota said it. They build cars for the world, not for America. See, Captain Dew said I did make rust paint, just bare metal body part spray. And let it set overnight, and it will rust. Self-driving takes the fun out of the road. Oh, 100%. Santa says, to me, hybrids make much more sense. So yeah, I mean, like my stepdad, he does, he's got a 67 Camaro, he has an 01 Corvette, an 06 Z06, he's got the big old Chevy pickup truck. He's like all-American, whoa, whoa, whoa. But he also does electrical inspection. And if you're driving all over God's green earth we're talking, I think he did almost 60,000 miles in 1 year. Driving around a gasoline guzzler is not, it's not a good business decision. So he actually did buy a hybrid. He ended up trading it in and just got a regular Honda Accord, or Civic, or I don't know what it is. It's a Honda. I'm not into Hondas. Not if more power to you. When it comes to Japanese cars, it's Toyota. When it comes to American cars, that's where it gets really interesting. But anyways, he did it because it's good on gas. And the problem with the hybrid is a lot of it was highway mileage, and it didn't recharge. So because it wasn't recharging, it didn't really get any benefits out of it. It's only if you're doing city driving. But if you're doing highway, these turbocharged 4-cylinders are great gas. I don't know, buy a minivan. If you're worried about gas economy, okay, a CRV. CRV, is that the SUV? There's one Honda that I wouldn't mind owning. It is ugly. It is by far one of the most ugly vehicles ever made. But, hear me out, I think it's a CRX. Late 80s, put yourself back in the late 80s. It's this little tiny subcompact thing. I had a buddy back in college, we autocrossed. I had the blue Toyota Supra. It was nuts. Like, that thing was great. Ran 12.7 in the quarter mile. Fun car. Terrible vehicle on autocross. It was heavy, cumbersome, brutal. But I think it was a CRX. He had it. It weighed, I don't know how much it weighed. Had no interior, no insulation. As he drove it, all the rocks got up. You could sound. It was just had a stage 3 clutch. We had 320 horsepower, and that thing was freaking ludicrous. That thing looked like it had freaking lawnmower tires on it, and that thing would just haul ass. Quarter mile, I would beat the living tar out of it, but on the autocross course, that thing was like the most cracked out go-kart ever made. It was wonderful. He let me drive it once, and I was like, I want one. Ugly as sin. Don't get me wrong. Ugly as sin. 05 CRV. I don't know what a CRV. My favorite vehicle to drive is the Chevy Caprice PPV and the Toyota Supra. Both of them the Caprice it's powerful. It's 14.1 in the quarter mile, which by today's standards is not particularly fast. But it is brutal. The Supra is brutal, I should say. The Supra I've made that thing so unfun to drive on the road unless you want to just go insane, which is awesome. No traction control, no ABS, nothing. You are the computer. And that thing is just, it weighs 3,163 pounds. It's running 17 pounds of boost and a 4.0 liter engine. And that thing is a complete and utter freaking nut job. Whereas the Caprice, I put 3 kids in it, the wife, we're all comfortable, we can drive, it's got air conditioning, the Supra doesn't have that. So I don't know I don't know what crossover numbers are. I know what the Aztec is. I think it's the Aztec, only because of Breaking Bad. Right. So, like when I drove the Buick, 2,500 miles from Texas to. Can you imagine driving an electric car 2,500 miles? I pulled in. Sure, it's a Buick. I got pretty decent gas mileage. I kept it around 60, 65. I tried, actually, again, this is the carburetor off of it. I was doing my absolute best not to get into the secondaries and just running the primaries. And look at how tiny those primaries are. They're freaking tiny. I got great gas mileage on that. The only thing I really had a problem with is the fact that the oil was just, wasn't burning it. It was just getting real thin. Well, the oil wasn't getting thin. The bearings were getting thin. So, yeah, other than that, let's see. If you drive something with a big block, best not bother worrying about fuel mileage. Exactly. I don't drive a lot. So, when I was working with Hemmings, I would drive twice a week out to Vermont. That's 41 miles or 41 minutes away. That's not bad. I didn't use much gas. Mostly all the stuff I do is just local. I bring the kids to school in the morning. I bring them home at night. And at the end of the day, I don't really put too much. My wife works out in Albany, and that's a totally different story. There's carpooling in that because the parking garage. Albany, New York has gotten very violent. So yeah, there's parking garages, and the parking garages, they were told if you're going to a parking garage, you have to tell the state troopers they can give you an escort or go in a group. Don't go to your car alone. This is it's insane, the insanity and allowing, it's dangerous. It's real dangerous. In fact, it was like Christmas. I was telling this to a couple of my family members, and they're like, "Oh, it's not that bad." And then 2 days later, 2 state workers got mugged in one of the state buildings. Crazy. The CRV is a Honda. Is the CRV the SUV or crossover-like thing? Let's see. The spreadboard carbs make moan music sounds. Yeah, they have that I love the one thing I loved about the thermoquad that I was running on the old Dodge pickup truck. When you floored it, it would go. It was like, whoa, and that sounds cool. Also, pro tip with the 360 that was in there, if you floored it, let off, and then floored it again, you get that little pop, that backfire. It'd blow the exhaust off and freak everyone out. It was wonderful. And then you had no exhaust until you pulled over and stuffed it back on. But it was hilarious. Now with the Super, I just have a button I switch, and it opens up the 2 collector cutouts and make loud noises that way. But old movie cars from the 70s were spreadboard. And you got this is notoriously awesome of a carburetor. I don't know why I said notorious, but this is one of the most reliable carburetors you're gonna get. I don't know how many of these kicking around. I've been told that I should probably number check them. Some of them are worth money for the numbers junkies, but I think I saw John Wilbur. No, it's just what he was saying earlier. I thought I saw him pop up with another comment, but apparently not. So, not loud noise music. Well, I mean, it's the music of our people. So, yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about having fun. The car has to be an extension of you. Don't do it for other people. Do it for yourself, because otherwise you're not going to like it. Every time I keep reminding myself, not that I have to too much, but I'm very, very grateful for YouTube doesn't make me much money, but I do it for myself and do it for you guys. And I have so much fun doing it. And I remind myself that, 6 years ago, my Super had no engine in it, and I had a Toyota Corolla as a daily driver for working as an electrician. And since I've made the decision to do this, I now have some really awesome cars. I've been able to work with some incredible people, whether it has been, from the very beginning. Randy at Auto Auction Rebuilds. I got to work with Tony DeFeo, Nick up in Montana, up in Montreal. I got to work with, the guys over at Hemmings. I got to work with them for years. I got to hang out with Dylan McCool. I got to hang out with the guys down in Texas. It's just, it was very awesome to meet up with John Wilburn and his mom. God rest her heart. She was a wonderful, wonderful woman. I'm very, very proud to have been able to meet her. And hanging out with Just Mopar Joe in Arkansas, which, Just Mopar Joe, why is your road so loud? Mike over at Santa's Workshop. So I've gotten to meet and make incredible friends along the way, and a lot more people. One of my best friends, Roland, he moved away, but I'm still really good friends with him, talk to him as much, but this has been an incredible ride. So it's crazy to think that 6 years ago, and it's crazy to think it's been 6 years, but yeah, I went from being an electrician and heavy hard labor to 70 Buick Skylark with an LS swap in it. I got to build a 72 Satellite. I have a 440 there, I have a 7M GTE there, a 455 big block there, hopefully a 1300 horsepower LS twin turbo there, hopefully 800 horsepower Atlas 4200, 2 Buick 350s, and 2 spare 1UZs. So you guys are amazing. You guys inspire me to do fun things and be a hub. And I'm doing what I'm doing solely because you guys inspire me to do it. So yeah, follow your heart, build the car for you. I don't know, other than that, just be your own guiding star. Ever heard of an air cleaner lid flip, just flip to gain horsepower? I've seen the short 7 gain. So, hey, I have hard feelings on that, right? So here's my problem with it. It's just like putting a cold air intake on your engine. Sure, a cold air intake does help if it's pulling cold air. So you flip your air cleaner upside down, right? What are you pulling in? Hot air from the engine bay. Whereas if your car is built properly from the factory, it's got a section, maybe 2, that pull air from the outside. The Buick had the 2 snorkels on the Buick 455 or the Buick GS's, had the snorkel that goes up and then just pulls. It's not like an actual scoop. It just pulls colder air. It's not a ram air like they say it's not. It's dirty. You're not getting pressure. The pressure is much higher up, but you're at least pulling cooler air down through, or you're pulling cooler air from the front of the car. Once you flip your lid and you have the lid open here and you have this air gap right in there, all you're doing is pulling hot air. It's like, for the example, one of the big things I need to do for the Supra, which the 3D printing will help do, I'll be getting a scanner in the near future. I need to make an air box, because currently the big issue is the air box, or the cold air intake. The only reason I have that is because I can't put the factory one in its place, because I have the coolant lines for the supercharger running. It's the only place I could run them. So I can't run the factory air box. So I have cold air intake. Problem with the cold air intake is it sits right next to the radiator, which means all it's doing is sucking hot air. So if you're pulling 250-degree ambient temperature out of your engine bay and putting it into your engine, you're not doing yourself any favors. Whereas, it's not the end of the world for my Supra, because I'm taking the air and I'm putting it into the supercharger, which is, let's face it, the ambient temperature of my engine bay is not the biggest concern. That supercharger produces a lot of heat. I got at the time, the biggest option I could, but at the end of the day, it's sucking warm air and making it hot, real hot. So that's why I run windshield wiper fluid with methanol in an intercooler, an air to water intercooler, and I need to increase the size of the reservoir. I'd like to make it so I can put ice in it, that like a little sleeve that I can put ice in it, and that way the water runs through a sleeve that has ice to cool it down even further, that type of stuff. But yeah, sucking hot air is not a good thing to do. The air cleaner flip made my dad's 400 small block Chevy 2-barrel growl. And well, yeah, the air, like if you throw a cold air, hot air. If you put a cold air intake on your car, it's gonna go. It sounds like you're sucking your hood in. It sounds awesome. It doesn't. You got to put it in a box. You got to get the cool air. You need to be pulling cool air. So yeah, it does sound really cool though. It's like, don't get me wrong, turbos are great. I grew up with turbos, and all my Supras have been turboed. I'm gonna twin turbo the LQ4 over there. The I don't know why I want to turbo all the American engines and supercharge all the Japanese engines. I just find the irony of it hilarious. But like, turbo sound they go, but superchargers, they sound badass. Like, oh, that whine. There's just something primitive about it. It's amazing. Turbo sound cool. Superchargers sound badass. My really good buddy, he's building the big boy Hemi, not the big boy Hemi, but big boy first gen Hemi, and he's putting a supercharger on it, and I cannot wait to hear that run. Junior, I cannot wait to hear that run. If you're watching, you're the man, the myth, the legend. But that is why them air cleaners came with the smokers. No, snorkels. Okay, I gotta come closer. I guess I need to get glasses. Most of the engines that, oh no, do I need glasses? But yeah, that's why the air cleaners came with snorkels. Most of the engines that, yeah. So like the cool thing about the square body was it was completely unmolested. It still had the firewall lamp, which I'm going to reinstall that with an LED in it. I love that thing. It's great. But you have your air cleaner on it. It's got the little side part, and it has a snorkel that goes down into a plastic piece that goes behind the headlights and pulls your fresh air in. If you can keep fresh air going into your engine, you're going to have slightly better performance than if you're pulling hot air from your... Now, sure, is it more restrictive? Blah, 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 blah. That's why you have like the dual snorkels. You have the different ram air options that they had. Realistically, the performance gains were the fact that you just had two inlets that were pulling from the cooler environment, which was outside your engine bay, and not, flipping your lid. And then of course you can put ram air. It's not like putting a supercharger, but it increases the base pressure that you're getting to your actual ports, not by much. Like, I really hesitate to say the gain is, like, you'd have to have that air cleaner sticking way out of the hood. It needs to be out of the dirty air. It needs to be into the fresh air, and that's the only way you're going to get the ram air effect. That thing needs to be sitting. I don't know what it is exactly. All cars are different. The problem with like the old 70s cars is they're not aerodynamically friendly. They're really bad at that. So the dirty air is much higher off of the hood. So those ram air need to be really high. You need to get out of the eddies and into the actual pressure. So let's go back to the CARB buddy real quick, as we'll be heading out pretty shortly. But do you guys have any thoughts on it? I really want your guys' feedback on it. We have the two different versions that are now available. Again, the link is attached to the chat bar. It's pinned. We have the two different versions, different color options. You have the base plate that goes on top of your intake manifold. So if you're working on your engine, you don't have the carburetor on it. And then you have this one, which sits on top of a carburetor. I really like to hear you guys' feedback on it. I've been working with a bunch of different guys to get this, so it's actually in one lady, to get it so that it's going to be a usable product for you guys. In fact, if you're in this area and you run at Lebanon Valley Dragway, these will be available at the speed shop if you're going to buy them in person, they're going to be available at the tower at Lebanon Valley Dragway. That's right. So you guys that I know, and I've met you, I've seen you guys at Lebanon Valley Dragway, you're going to be able to see these guys at the tower. They are our Northeast dealer outside of the LunarOutlaw.com website. Let's see. Captain Dew says, I do like the color, the orange color. It's my first favorite color before blue. And the blue option. The color options are, let's see. So actually, I originally was like Chevy red, Ford blue, all that. And it was actually Santa Claus, Mike, was like, he chose red. I was like, because, Santa, red? He goes, no, because I could find it in my shop better. I'm like, I didn't think about that. And it's like, this right here, what put the fire under my butt to make this, because originally I was planning on launching that next month, not sooner, and just launching this thing, was, put that nice over there. So, Carol was like, hey, Carol's a wonderful woman. She runs some pretty awesome drag cars down at the Val. She's like, hey, you should make one of these. And I was like, funny you should say that. It launches next month. She goes, I would actually be more interested in this because then you could, I know a lot of people that run, Pro Streets, Pro Mods, all different types of cars that their engine's just sitting there. What's up, mama? So their engines are just sitting there open to the air at the drag strip with a dirty rag over it, right? With the carburetor on it. So a lot of times you're not pulling the carburetor off your drag car, obviously. You're, run between the runs, you're just throwing a rag over it. And then having a little bowl would be real nice. I'm like, well, let me go ahead and sort it out and see what you think. And she liked it. And again, one of the big things is if you are going to run this with the 1/4-inch threaded rod through the carburetor, you can drill this little hole out right here. It's not a hole from me, but here's the trick on this, right? So this is a boss in, and that's where you drill your hole. That is going to be slightly bigger than a 1/4-inch threaded rod, so it should nice and smoothly fall on it. This second circle, that is where the solid material ends. Anything else, if you drill a hole anywhere outside of this spot right here, you're into the general infill, and this is really strong, really strong. And it's almost 100% solid throughout here, but there is infill on here because this is fairly thick. I wanted to make sure that if you drop your socket on it, you're not going to break it. So at the end of the day, I was like, okay. And also it's made out of a material that is UV resistant because she was thinking about, it's going to be outside at the drag strip. So I made it UV resistant. And also it's good to just about 200 degrees Celsius. So, sorry, 200 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a lot of stuff that is in metric, and I'm not a metric guy, so it screws me up. So all of the properties of the plastics are all listed in metric. I like freedom units. I don't know. I have a hard time trying to understand how things correlate with it. Like I was trying to design something and the program is in metric, and I'm like, why is everything stopped? So Broken Garage says, where do you get them? You buy them directly from me. They're made right there. I don't outsource anything. Everything's made in America in my basement because it was my man cave and now is my engine building and now Carburetor or Carb Buddy manufacturing room. But you go to LunarOutlaw.com. The link is attached to the little section on the side right here, or whatever, the chat box, which I fought with earlier. What's up, Gizmo? Dude, yo dog. And there, of course, I'm working on other things. I'm really excited about this. We can turn this around here, and you can see that right there is. Let's see. This is a front-facing intake manifold. Obviously, it's not going to be made in 3 pieces. I'm just trying to get it to all work together. That is a first-generation head. I went and got that from a junkyard. So now I have a second-generation head that's like 90 horsepower. The ports are huge on this. Like, they're massive. It's a cross-flow straight 6. It's a 4.2 liter. It's an, let's see, it came out of the Trailblazer. It's awesome. I'm really, really excited. It's like, It makes more horsepower than the 4.8 liter LS, and I'm really excited about building this thing. And that right there is going to be, so these are the two engines I really want to focus on. That's going on the Buick. I have an idea what that's going in. That's my backup engine right there for the Supra in case the 17 pounds of boost decides to go south. That's the old engine from the Supra. One of my Supras, not the black Supra. I don't remember what engine this came out of. The black came out of, I bought that off of eBay for a penny. But yeah, so I have a lot of things I'm trying to build. And the most exciting thing I really want to do, I don't know why. I don't know why, but I'm on a kick that I want to put that 4200 Atlas in a Mustang. I don't care if I would prefer a classic Mustang. Like in a ideal world where I get my way on everything, which doesn't ever happen. But in an ideal world, I would see that 71 Mustang fastback, very European style, that big old, as Lee Iacocca would say, the pig, which he has no, segue right here, he has no room to call a car a pig. He designed the K car, and he's calling the 71 Mustang a pig? Man, I'll tell you what. Pot calling the kettle black. Yes, that being said, yeah, ideal world, 71 Mustang, fastback, big boy. I love the Chevelle. I love the B bodies, whether it's like the Satellite, specifically the Satellites. I always love the Satellites, the Roadrunners, like those guys. I don't know what it is about the bigger muscle cars. Like the Camaros are great. I love a Camaro, but the Chevelle, the Buick GS, the Le Mans, the GOAT, any of those. Whether it's the Chargers, the Cuda. Oh my God! Can you imagine owning a Cuda? Imagine just for a second, a 440 big block powered Cuda. Oh, I don't even care if it's just a Barracuda. I don't. That's like the dream right there. That's the car. And yes, this is a 7M GTE. The block is a 7M GTE block. The crank is a 6M block, not a 7M crank. 6M block. 7M crank, sorry, 6M crank, not a 7M crank, which is wrong for that year. I built an engine and put that crank in it, and then I didn't have a crank, and my buddy, so yeah, that one's on loan until I can afford to pay him for it. So that engine is put together, but not put together. Big muscle cars are called bulky or fat muscle. They are called, I don't care what anyone wants to call them, they are the dream. To me, like, the only thing that I would say, like, in the hierarchy of muscle cars, for my personal, everyone's different. Like, when I think muscle, the three cars that, well, four. Yeah, five. Oh, man, how do you pick? Like, I think the top has to be yellow. Yellow cars, there has to be a specific car. But, like, the dream car would be a yellow 70 Cuda with a billboard. 440, six-pack. Not that I know how to tune a six-pack. That's it. That's the dream. After that, Chevelle or a GS. Preferably a GS. Preferably a GS Stage 1. I'm not the biggest, and this is going to be a hot take, I'm not the biggest fan of the GSX. I don't like the spoiler on it. It looks good on the convertible car, but I think because the convertible has different quarter panels than the regular, and I think the spoiler, which is actually it's not a spoiler, it doesn't spoil it, it is a wing. I think it looks dumb. I don't like it. That being said, I think I have a love-hate relationship with the spoiler on my Supra, and yeah. And then after that, like the Camaro, like I would really like a Charger, not a Challenger. I would rather have a Challenger over a Charger, or a Camaro. Problem is, the Camaro is actually, in my opinion, a better track car than. So it's like 67, 69, preferably a 67 because I like the smoker windows. It's you know. The 71, 74 B bottles were called Coca-Cola bottles. They were actually the fuselage style, but yeah, I've heard them called the Coca-Cola style, things like that. Let's see. My dream car. Oh, Santa's Workshop says my dream car is a 79 Trans Am. That is it. So, okay. You're going to laugh at me, Santa Claus. Mike, hear me out. Why the Supra? Why have I owned so many Supras? Why was my first car a Supra? Let me tell you a story of a 14-year-old that thought, like, my uncle had a Trans Am. It was silver, it was badass. Had an 8-track in it. American muscle. I was like infatuated with that car. I wanted one. I was 14 years old. What am I gonna do? My family's not affluential. I was working hay baling. I was working at the Schaghticoke Fair. I was parking cars for the Schaghticoke Fair. I was in the get your popcorn. Like, 14 years old. Who's gonna hire a 14-year-old? I was hard labor to be able to afford. I earned $900 that summer. Back in, I don't remember. I can't do the math on it. It was a long time ago. And so my uncle bought a Supra, and I was like, wow, that looks like a Trans Am. And then, it might as well be cross-eyed and be like, oh, wow, that looks like a Trans Am. I get it. But, we got a couple things done printing. But I wanted it. And he was like, well, I'm not selling this one to you. It's too expensive. But I bought a donor car because my turbo's bad. And it was cheaper to buy a turbo or the whole car. And then, so I was like, oh, well, can I buy the car? And so he, it's like, okay, fine. But, I need what it would cost to buy a turbo. And so I bought the car for the price of a turbo, which was everything I made that summer. Literally every cent and a little bit more. So yeah, I bought my first car at 14, and it took all that I could afford done that summer, and it was because I thought it looked like a Trans Am. I definitely see it doesn't look like a Trans Am now. Let's see. Broken Garage says, what do you think about Aussie muscle cars? The Falcons, yes. I would give it the Falcons, and I don't know how far you want to go as far as Aussie. I own an Aussie muscle car. Just throwing this out there. It's a 4-door, but I absolutely love my 2012 Chevy Caprice PPV. I bought it from one of my absolute best friends, Roland. I love that freaking car. I love driving that car pretty close, not almost, pretty close to as much as I love driving the Supra. I have a heavy foot, and that thing will just go. If you want an American car, get it made by an Australian. It's bitchin'. It is the coolest shit that you're gonna get. I love that car. So yeah, Australia, I see Australia in some of the things they're doing, and their laws for driving on the street are just as bad, significantly worse than New York, which sucks for you guys. But you guys have the hot rod spirit that we had in the 70s, and I love it. I freaking love it. 90% of the stuff in my Supra was either made from a company that they are now moved to New Zealand, but it came from Australia or New Zealand, because you guys have more 1UZs than we do. Let's see. Mama says 71, the only year the recessed marker lights. Yeah, so the one downside, the one thing that always bothered me about the 72 satellite, it's not my favorite Mopar. The favorite Mopar I can't afford. It's a 70, CUDA with the 446 pack. But I really love the fuselage style that they brought into 71 and through 72. Hot take, I hate 73. Some of the car companies were able to take the regulations and make sculpted front clips that looked appropriate. Mopar didn't. In my personal opinion, hot take, you might hate me for it, but I think the 73 is absolutely hideous. And it sucks because 70 to 72, a little bit of the rubber bumper thing on the 72, I can live with that. It doesn't bother me. But you go from the 70 to 72, I think that's peak. I think that's like, I have, my buddy actually gave it, hung up, but over there's a 71 Roadrunner blue Richard Petty bumper right there. Roland gave that to me. That was a gift when he moved away, and I can't wait to have a big garage to be able to have that hang up. So it is the most beautiful bumper ever designed. Period. It is by far one of the most beautiful bumpers. And the 70 Roadrunner bumper is like the second best looking. But then, so back to it. The 72 Satellite, the biggest complaint I had with it was when they went from the recessed marker, which looked gorgeous. They had the two little lines, the three little separate pieces. It was, oh, great. I love it. It looks awesome. And then they switched it over to that hideous truck side marker that looks god awful. It should just be shaved off and forget it ever existed. The F-105 Thunder Chief had a Coke fuselage, a Coke bottle fuselage, aka VE Commodore. The Commodores, yeah. Are you going to make it to No Name Nationals this year? I am no longer working with any outside companies, so I have a lot more freedom. We are still working through something that happened. It's by the time No Name National comes around, it'll be almost 2 years. Unfortunately, that kind of like, I can't go into it. I can't say anything yet. Hopefully I can, get more into what's going on in the years to come. I don't know if that gives you enough of a hint, but yeah. So I'm really hoping this year, if not this year, once we get through this and things are a lot less chaotic, the thing that happened made it so we have security cameras all the way around the house. So yeah, again, I can't go into it. I'd like to someday, but 73s have an ISO K frame that I don't care for. It's just everything about the 73s just really don't do it for me. It's like even Buick. 71, so I think Buick's GS peak is 70. I love the way that the bumper looks. I love the grille looks better. Everything about the 70 is peak. Absolute peak. Not so much for the Chevelle, but for Buick, the 70, it just 70. 70 is the way to go. And then 71, I'm not the biggest fan of the bumper. It doesn't kill me. I just don't like the taillights in the 71, 72. I like the taillights in the 70 over the 71, 72. It's just the little nitpicky things. 73 Mopars were really not muscle cars, or at least not muscle because they don't. They down the power. They down the power for multiple reasons, and it's hard to say they're not muscle cars because of that. I mean, you could put the power back in them. It's just, I mean, the CAFE standards, in my opinion, was one of the, I mean, there's been a lot worse things that happened to our country, but it's one of the worst things that has ever happened to the automotive industry. Santa, I'll see you later, man. He's calling tonight. I'll be hopping off very soon too. The CAFE standards, it killed the wagon. They then decided that instead of having wagons, everyone needs SUVs, because then they don't have to adhere to the CAFE standards the same way, and they're considered quarter-ton trucks and half-ton trucks, and it's just, they killed the wagon. Man, one of the greatest cars ever made was the 1970 Buick Sport wagon. That thing is just with the little glass on the top. Oh my God! You could say the Vista Cruiser, the Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser, basically the same car. Just Buick is better. Buick has a better engine. My opinion. I don't care if you want to try to change my mind. Buick has a better engine than Oldsmobile. Just don't make too much horsepower with them because they break themselves in half. And so Oldsmobile has a better engine in that aspect, but factory, yeah, Buick. But yeah, at that, guys, I'm gonna hop off too. Remember, if you want to help support the channel, we do have merch. You can go to the website. It links it to Blacktop Yacht Club, and you can buy the shirts directly through them. I don't really have a way of making merchandise like this at this quality. I tried Teespring and a bunch of other companies. I hated them. This is the way. They're a little bit more pricey, but the fabric is awesome. And these have gone through many, many washes, and the quality stays there. If you want to help support the channel directly, Pick up yourself your own Carb Buddy. We have a bunch of them in stock, over 40 of these in different colors: red, blue, black, gray, orange. And then gray is new. It is available to purchase. And then the other ones, of course, it's all links right there. You choose if you want one that goes on your carburetor, choose on your carburetor. If you want the one that goes on your intake, it goes on the intake. Choose your color, and we'll get it out to you. Probably unless we get like 1,000 orders, probably Monday or Tuesday. So on that, I'm out of water. I need to go drink some more water. It is 10% humidity in the basement to keep my engine safe and to keep all the filament dry. And take this real quick. You can see that we got the ornaments just finished up. They were printing while we were talking. And sorry about that. I hit the mute button. Anyways, I don't know when I lost you. You guys have yourself a glorious night. Keep her shiny side up, and I will see you later. I don't know how to end. There it is.